Just need to turn off the sound of
Yeah, no
the
worries.
YouTube thing before I go back. Let's see.
It says that it's streaming live on YouTube now.
Yeah. What? It says it's private. I don't know what that means.
It's
Doesn't matter too much, but I will open up for people now. I will admit people, okay?
Mhm.
Okay. I think we'll just start the meeting. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this talk with Selina Kahle. My name is Aslak Hersen. I'm the managing director of VISP, which is an arts organization for anyone who works within contemporary arts in Norway. We're situated in Bergen in the western part of Norway. And it's a membership organization, and you can join if you're an artist, a curator, gallery owner. It's free, and we do a lot of online and physical workshops, talks, and seminars, and so on. There's also a lot of great benefits when it comes to like discounts at suppliers and so on. I've invited Selina, who I met last year when I was at the Norwegian Embassy in Berlin for residency, and they had a workshop on sustainability. And there was around 30 or 40 people from the Berlin art scene and different organizations attending. I tried for like 7 or 8 minutes to speak German, and it was so-so, but I survived. And we did a lot of group work, which was quite interesting. Today's talk will be available on YouTube. I'm not sure if we have some issues with the stream at the moment, but it will be uploaded if it doesn't work. We'd be very happy if people could turn their cameras on, so we're not alone in this big void. Thank you. Thank you, Vilde. And I'm going to, of course, say welcome to Selina, who has a master's in communication and business psychology. And is it correct you're the deputy chair of the Sustainability in Arts and Culture Network 2N2K Germany?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And you're also the lead of the nationwide initiative Culture4Climate.
Yeah, very recently, actually. Last month, I got the kind of promotion. Yeah, before I was deputy
Congratulations.
lead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can also say that before we started, we spoke briefly yesterday about, but you had an idea that maybe people are a bit bored and fed up with all these sort of lectures with a lot of, what do you call it, like folders and images and this sort of blah, 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 blah. You want more of a conversation with today's participants, basically,
Yeah.
and discuss and, of course, give a presentation of your organizations, if I may say so. Yeah. So
Yeah. I thought it's like everyone's lunch break or mostly everyone's lunch break. And I thought going without a presentation might be a refreshing thing, also very sustainable because you're not only focusing on the presentation, but on real engagement. And obviously, I would love to hear from your side at the end of kind of our talk. And when Aslak and me finish talking, I think this would be something very useful because I also want to get insights how Norway is doing, what things are, what your daily business is, yeah, concerning sustainability and things like that. So,
yeah, I just want to add that we also have some other online talks we've had before summer about the subject about sustainability and green practice that are available on our YouTube site. But please, Selina, you want to talk about the Culture4Climate, maybe?
Yeah. Maybe just a little bit to my background. So I've been working in the field of sustainability more on the business side for about over 15 years now. And as my background is more in communications and business psychology, this is very much a different kind of role or an output for kind of doing this in the cultural way. But culture and film, and especially at the Berlin Film Festival, have been a great part of my last working years. So I've been working for the Berlinale Film Festival, the International Film Festival here in Berlin, also as a sustainability manager, but before that also in guest management. So I really got into deep also how culture works, how things are doing. And I thought I could use all the things that I have learned from the business side and kind of transfer this kind of thinking over into the cultural world. So basically in 2019, I met with my kind of co-lead on the Agenda 2030 network, which was a network we had before we had the actual 2N2K network. And we kind of clicked and we knew we wanted to do something to spur this kind of topic further on, because there was little in Germany done at that time where we had anyone or any sources that will give you information on where you can actually work in your field, what the culture and the cultural sector is actually doing, and what they can participate towards this very important topic, which kind of is for everyone, and can also be a very overwhelming topic for most, and you don't know where to kind of start and where to act. So what we installed back then was that we had kind of some real engagements in terms of having events where we would have two speakers and have them live at a session in Berlin, getting people to talk about their work and what challenges they face. And from this kind of on, we had a development that we kind of all the work we have been doing there, and as well as taking over the 2N2K network, which already existed since 2016 as a co-lead and or deputy lead and head of 2N2K. We have our now biggest kind of project called Culture4Climate. Culture4Climate is intending to, or is working now for nearly 3 years. We are funded by the Federal Ministry in Germany for Climate Action. And due to that, we kind of look at the whole sectors of culture in Germany. So also theaters, opera houses, smaller social cultural organizations, but also artists in their field, but also museums and galleries. And we try to help them to get on the way of using their power as a cultural actor to help also bring the topic of sustainability, of climate action along, but trying is to do it in a very sensible way, and not trying to be like someone who's just lecturing and really wanting to engage with all the organizations who involved with us or who want to work with us together. I think also this was really good with Aslak last year in the Norwegian embassy here in Berlin. We had a talk about how Norway is doing, and I'm really much interested afterwards, obviously, Aslak, and also maybe from a perspective of yours here in the room, how Norway is doing in that terms. But from the German side, I want to say, at the moment, we don't have cultural politically, there's no kind of evidence of any culture, or that culture is an actor in those policies that are done. So, and also when we look at emissions and climate calculations that have been done with like a lead role of the UK, who have done a lot in that sense. I mean, I don't know if you ever heard of Julie's Bicycle or the Albert program from the BBC and BAFTA. or the museums and ICOMs, and in Netherlands also Key Futures and Art Switch. Everything that kind of comes back is mostly emissions which evolve around like mobility and kind of like really major topics which also involve other problems, and not only like focusing on the cultural sector, but on our everyday mobility and on energy use. But we see this is only limiting kind of the way culture and cultural actors and artists work, because it would only kind of bring them down to what they actually do in terms of ecological practice. But what we see is that you all, as artists, are so much more than just your practice and where you source your colors from, or where you get your material and if you reuse it or not. So therefore, in the start of Culture4Climate as a project, we very much were aware that there were so many kind of ideas around what can culture actually do, that we wanted to break it down. And in that kind of process, we wanted to also help to understand what your role as a kind of artist, as someone who's a cultural organization is, and what you can do and commit to in order that we get to the Agenda 2030 and 17 Sustainable Development Goals as a whole, and also the Climate Protection Agreement from Paris. And what we did is we had a half a year development process where we scanned all declarations, manifests, things that were already out in the cultural field, Europe, but also international wide, and looked at what kind of things go together and what kind of topics do evolve, which bring all together, not just in terms of like, yeah, sourcing your material, but what you can actually do in terms of being an artist and a cultural organization. And we came up with the international version of the Sustainability Declaration for the Cultural Sector, which is a self-commitment kind of a declaration, which also WIST signed as our first international partner. And we have an English version, obviously the German version, which we enrolled and have already over 135 signees up to date, from really large major organizations in Germany until also artists or theater companies. So a very, very diverse group of people having signed it as a self-reflection also on their work and what they're doing, but also as a kind of lead way on where your actual strength is. So there are 5 main topics as kind of goals, what we think, and they're very much also aligned with the United Nations Agenda 2030 goals, but kind of taken out so that and broken down for the cultural sector. And yeah, I actually, before we start going into that direction, and I bring you a little bit more on that kind of fields and where we see the kind of also thematic role as an artist and a cultural organization, I would very much like to do like a 2-minute exercise with you. So you go into yourself, like you're in your mind palace or mind brain, and try to think of what other things then just using your material and being an artist actually means for you, and where could you use this in terms of ecology, but also other like social sustainability. Where could you use your power? And yeah, I just wanted to see what your kind of feeling on what your practice is at the moment. Where do you act sustainably, and get some feedback just after this kind of 2 minutes. So till 1:15 or so, yeah, if you could just like do some kind of bullet points. Where do you think you could use your power as an artist, but also where do you already act sustainably in your field where you're working at? Yeah.
I'll take the time, okay?
Yeah, you two to take the timer. Maybe for the people who came late, Aslak asked if you could put on your screen so we don't see the void of names. Yeah, if you would like to, you can join with your camera.
Yep, that's time.
Time out. Yeah, so yeah, I would be happy if you just yeah, whoever wants to share their ideas and what they kind of think their role is and at the moment how they are acting sustainably. Anyone wants to go first or just participate into this discussion?
I will actually appoint someone.
Ah.
Yeah. Ingeborg, would you like to share? Ingeborg, Annie?
I think to do as I do now, to join meetings digital instead of being physical in meetings, in one way to reduce traveling footsteps, if you can say that, and work with people locally more, and not go to the big biennales and stuff.
It's yeah. I think this is really a good example. So just like maybe we collect and then I can kind of comment on things and or we bring things together in terms of that. Anyone else? Thank you so much for your input. Maybe Isabella? Now we're appointing people, it may be better.
Hi, so thank you for giving me voice. Actually, I'm working and trying on the project that it's pointing to the sustainability, but also regenerative thinking, because I just rethink my praxis and started to pointing as us as human, as a material resource, and I'm inviting people to donate for my project hair. So in this way, I'm also discussing what kind of waste hair are. And also the whole subject of the Whipping Project is about innovation, how to get access to fresh water. So it's a like summing up, I'm trying to act through my praxis, and also also rethink these additional things, how also my studio is run, and all these kinds of meetings problems and traveling problems. But I started also from the education, that I took courses like a biomimicry course to let me get some tools also, and new understanding of the problem. And I was participating in residencies, like research residencies, also giving me network and giving me knowledge, because I'm getting all the time this question that a lot of people would like to contribute, but actually they don't know exactly what they can do. So
very good. Thank you so much for your contribution. And I think maybe later on, if we talk about actual projects you're doing, maybe you can share a bit more on that project and how it's working out. And if you might find someone in the room that could help you also participate towards it. Anyone?
I cannot contribute to that project, sadly.
But people are just asking this in family, so it's like not not limited.
Okay, but it's also, if maybe Selina, what you're looking for is not normally but something within the artworks themselves, the expression, correct, and how you can think, how you can show how do you say, sustainability or promote it through work. Yeah, Ingeborg, Annie?
I've been working for 10 years, working with making big chalk drawing, and I wash them away as a part of the making. So I don't have any art to travel with, and it's no disposal after. So that's one way of doing it.
The
but
products, basically. It's more,
and I don't need a studio either, so it's
right.
easy to run.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. But does anyone, like, I mean, like maybe Filde wants to join in the conversation and give us perspective from your side. But does anyone, like Aslak said, use the topic in their artwork to kind of address the like climate warming, things like that, or others like recycling or non-recycling in that fact, for their artwork, and to address the topic as such, you know, like not only using the material, which are mainly seeing it as a way of addressing the topic directly in the artwork. Yeah. Anyone wants to comment on that?
I can say something about how we think about it.
Yeah.
I'm Pippi Ferner, and I am working in two different artist groups. One is called Guerrilla Plastic Movement, and the other one is called Artist Group F36. And in Guerrilla Plastic Movement, we work pretty much on beach cleaning, street cleaning, and we use also what we find to convey the message about how much single-use plastic we find, how messy we have gotten, and how the fishing industry can do better by not losing everything in the ocean. And in the other group, we work with recycled materials most of the time, and also putting in, combining it with other materials to show about the vulnerability of the nature and how we actually destroy it square meter by square meter. And we're trying to say all this by not being aggressive, and we're kind of hoping that just showing it in a very subtle way and having titles that kind of point to the problem will bring awareness to these problems. Especially in the Guerrilla Plastic movement group, making shelters and scenography costumes out of the materials we find. We don't need to say much, actually. People do get the picture. And also, I'm working close with the municipality in Asker, and we're also making a guide, and we'll break it down to the very little. I mean, why? I heard you said something about charcoal, and you wash it off. Charcoal is fine. It doesn't. I mean, it doesn't. It's not very polluting. But then, what is polluting is maybe the fixative that we use to make it stick onto the paper or to the canvas or whatever. And you obviously solved it in your way by washing it away. So this guide will be for public spaces or public commissions. So it's how whoever asks for the commissions, I mean, that could be in the municipality, that they also have to make sure that their order is in a green, climate-friendly way or sustainable way. So the artist shouldn't take that weight alone. So it says the commissioner has to really think. So, and things may be more expensive because we have to think that way. Local stone might cost more than Chinese stone, but then the person who asks about the commission has to take that into their budget, so we can work locally and have less transport and everything. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. I think I want to get more on the details of the guideline later on, maybe if you're free to talk about it. But you actually took the words right out of my mouth, because one of the first things we kind of focus on in that declaration and also in our work is that we say the 11th SDG, which is the sustainable cities and communities. This is something you can be actors in, and you can be very discursive, critical, and a creative influence on things and reflect on new perspective, but also bring new narratives into your regions, into your communities, and very locally. And we see that especially when you talk to your regional offices or the what you call the funders, actually, that funding structures have to be changed in order to give you the power and also the money to make those sustainable changes. So therefore, we think if you bring all this kind of knowledge together, that you can actually actively shape your kind of outlook onto how you work and where you get your funding from in a sustainable way. And it's actually a really cool thing that you're doing a guideline and working together. That's really something that's bringing everyone together. And chapeau for that, I must say, because this is really something we would truly also as 2N2K and Culture4Climate would like to emphasize, because this is something you can really work on, and which is also shaping others' outlook of artists and artist groups. And also you already kind of taken the other thing, which I will go into more detail later, is being in partnerships and in groups together. You as a network will get much further with things than just being on your own and trying to struggle with your everyday life, and thinking about your practice and what you do is obviously the first step. To think about where you come from, what kind of materials you use, how you work in your everyday, and who you reach also as your target group. But I think then organizing yourself in a network, in a group, somewhere locally, regional, also international, to hear where things are going. I mean, with the help of online medias like this, it's gotten far more easier to get an overview and to exchange this knowledge with everybody else. So thank you for bringing up this SDG 11. It's called, like the from the 17 boards of the UN, and we kind of feel that this is something that really could be an impact, and people already use, as you already shown in your now presentation of your project there. Another thing which came up also is obviously the knowledge and education, organizing yourselves, finding a role regionally, but also education, and being someone who's enabling a forward thinking. Because I feel like there's so much in your work, but also in the way artists act ever. It's not just for the sustainability topic or things like that. Like, since the beginning probably of having arts and culture there, the artist himself brings so much into it and brings also knowledge, and we really feel that this is very powerful and instilling values also in their work, but also in the way they practice. That's something that really can be a very impactful and powerful source, yeah. And also shaping like the future leaders and change makers, being one change maker yourself and really feeling that role. I think this we see it so much in different variations nowadays that I feel this is something you should really feel the power. You're there, you're bringing something out there, not someone who is like working in an office to 9 to 7 or 9 to 5, and then he may be doing a report. No, you're there, you're active, you're open, people look at you, you have an impact, and you should be aware of that kind of education and knowledge you are spreading, but also the knowledge you can gain from interactively searching for knowledge. As you said in your residencies, you're really getting an in-depth information on things. And I feel this is something that really, really helps. And most artists also work with schools or with other regional networks and really do shape things. So I already see it in all the little presentations you just gave and all your feedback, that this is something that you really are, and you should maybe just take a minute to take that really in, because you've got the power. So I just want to say this, not being very over a Disney kind of figure way, but you really do, because you put your work out there and people see it and they react to it. And it's a powerful move you have there. The other thing, which was, I think, very much something you all mentioned, is resources and materials, sourcing of things. So the third big major part, and also SDG 12, is responsible consumption and production. So this is something you're very much aware of probably, but maybe you don't know how to move forward in this, or how to even get more ecological friendly. I can only say that I told also Aslak beforehand, I can share some international or mainly European-based websites. If you want to kind of check back, have like a guideline or checklist, or get webinars on what you can change in your kind of practice on this, and how to resourcefully look into your material and where you're coming from in that terms of sense. I can share these links in an email afterwards, so you can just like look at them. There are things like I already mentioned, KI Futures in Amsterdam, or Art Switch. Many others that are already doing it, the Gallery Climate Coalition. They have put together lots of information, and there are art historians, artists behind it, museums and collaborations, but also in terms of mobility and also how to really kind of look into your practice. I think this would be a very good source, because I'm not an artist. So as you know, I'm more as a scientific researcher, or someone who's like working in projects and trying to get things forward. And also I do my doctorate and research in the field of sustainability and culture, and what it means to actually implement things. But I think all the effort which has already gone into all these guidelines that these international organizations have done, I think you can profit from it, but you should always think of what you can also do regionally and for yourself, what is actually adaptable for yourself and what goes too far. Because one thing that is for sure is that you are not the main emitters for CO2. that's something that I just want to say and make clear is the cultural sector is not one of the main emitters. That's why it's also not in actual policies at the moment, which concern carbon reduction and also THG emissions. But obviously, every one of us, we all together as a whole of humanity on this earth have to do something in terms of that things will shift, you know. So, and to give this positive outlook and use your imagination is also something that is really, not only bringing knowledge to people without being overwhelming, but doing it in a different narrative. That's something we really liked artists to think about themselves, and not only on this ecological practice, because this is just a really, really tiny bit. The other thing is the education, being regional aware and work with things together and using your education and knowledge in that perspective is also coming onto the same kind of level. And you should really focus on both things if you want to make the shift and change. In terms of, I wanted to say, I think it was Ingeborg who said, "Oh, I'm not going to be at Biennale, and I look after my travel." I think there's a bit of a divide also for myself. So sometimes I have to work abroad, or we have to travel for things, but I will be carefully looking if it really brings me something. So if this is really truly fundamental for you to do your work and to bring also new connections and new, how you call it, new ideas to you, then I would say go for the travel, be aware of it, maybe look into how you travel there, but don't limit yourself just to say, oh, I cut down on my emissions, I don't go once a year, I don't do that one flight, you know, because it will limit you in a way, and it will make even the topic of sustainability and where you're coming from actually limit yourself in terms of that it's always sustainability seen as something you have to cut out, you have to get rid of things, and to make it a more positive narrative for you, if it helps you, if you really need that for your work. I'm not talking about you attending each week every Biennale or so, or any kind of art convention. That's certainly a thing that will bring you forward. Then do it. Don't limit yourself because you say it's going to be carbon emission, because there are so many companies out there and major big industry that won't look at it even. So your emission obviously makes sense, but it will only play a very, very minimal role. So if you go for that one time, or you go to this conference or art fair, do it and be aware of the situation and what you're doing. And then the rest of the year, you being very much you and yourself and very sustainable in your way, then I wouldn't say you have to limit yourself. But maybe you can go there by train and boat. So have a nice trip through Europe also. Yeah.
She lives very far up north.
Oh my God, where do you live? Tromsø or?
Even further north. No?
Oh.
You're muted, I think.
You're muted, yeah.
In Harstad, we don't have trains.
You go with Hurtigruten or with flights?
With flights.
Ah, yeah. Okay, yeah.
But I mean, I agree with you, Selina, but also maybe if you're in Europe, you don't have to go to a Biennale in Paraguay or in
Okay, yeah.
India every second month, you know. But of course, yeah. But this is something I think it's also easier if, let's say, you're working in Denmark, to travel by train to, like, say, Venice or Kassel. You know, it's a different ball game basically. But many places in Norway, it's planes is the main mode of transportation.
Yeah, that's actually a cool thing that we can discuss, because that's definitely a difference which makes urban structures and more Central Europe traveling, I would like to discuss this later on, maybe, because I would like to know more about that, because obviously we also have very, let's say, infrastructure problematic regions in Germany, but also in Europe, where it's not easy to get anywhere, jump on a train, or you have to go miles and miles to get anywhere where there's something where you could like use a public transport. And so this kind of perspective from Norway would be something very insightful for me to see how your daily life goes about, because it's very much different when I'm talking from here, me in Berlin, Germany, very locally, very easy to reach for me, most of the trains, even though German train systems sometimes can be a bit of a pain. But yeah, this would be something I would like to see if we can use this also at the end of the talk. But these also are things that are kind of working into the field of this climate protection and climate action, which is the next kind of goal we have in the sustainability declaration, because we see that everyone needs to do their part in kind of their protection. And yeah, these, as I said, that you really can use your kind of work as a platform of change. And I feel like with this guerrilla plastic movement, and you're using in that other group the recycled materials, things like that, they are bringing things forward. They are very that you're going out, you're being in a collective together, and also the project Isabella was talking about. So getting people involved into this topic is a very good thing to go forward. I actually have something that is just recently happened. It's at the moment in Zurich. I don't know if you've seen it. There's a massive pot whale just right on the outside of the Limmat and the Zurich lake, Lake Zurich. It's massive installation, but it looks so real, like a real pot whale. And it's a collaboration between the theater house in Zurich and on their new program, which is very much focused on the climate protection and what humanity is doing towards our oceans and climate change. And this potwa is so in the face that it kind of attracts everyone around. People are reporting about it. How could a whale come into the very much central Switzerland? And the artists group behind it, as well as the theater Zurich, together worked on media coverage and also looking into how this climate role and being really in the face of people in Zurich can be something that contributes to this climate action and protection, because most people go about their daily life and maybe not think about these things, especially if you're not very aware of it. But these kind of art installation and things that will bring everyone kind of into maybe a little shock or very interested in how they did it, how did the artists do. This is something that really, what I think is also combining this thematic theme of knowledge and using your power as an artist together. And people who wouldn't be going into the theater house Zurich and or go into an art exhibition will be with open air kind of art installation, and in that form very huge one, a real sized pot wall, will get some kind of attention, and people will ask what's happening, why is it there, and this is something you bring awareness, and the people will be thinking about this. And maybe you can't be sure for it, but maybe it can also trigger this change. And that's something I really interested in, and I think that artists are brilliant in that way when they do something and use also their artwork for it. I don't think that we should all do our artwork and go away from our topics, but if they used it for a good and also in a collaboration with the theater house, I think that's something that really brings things together and also brings scientific topics to the to the surface in a very vivid way. Yeah. Has anybody seen it? Otherwise, I can also share the link. But you just put Wall and Zurich. I think you will get the photos very quickly also on Instagram.
By the way, I think I should share the links from you because
you will. Yeah. I will send everything.
GDR, what it's called,
yeah. I mean, Olafur Eleison. Is it the right way? He does a lot of work like the ice watch installations or things like that. So he brings the topic up to a different route. And on another theme is that you also, with your kind of audience and the target group you're targeting, sometimes you get new people into it because with all these policies and everything that's out there and all the talk about climate neutrality or carbon zero, people don't always, like in a normal society, people don't always get what's behind it, and it's not really a sexy topic people want to talk about. So having it a different narrative on another cultural level where you have an audience will make so much of a difference. And nobody wants to read all the reports. They want to know, what can I actually do? Where can I start? What can I do in terms of help towards this major problem we have? So I think this is really, get people to act. I think this is something we could say as an overall thing. And you wanted to say something?
No.
And the last one, the fifth goal, is actually what I already talked to you and what you already shared with me in this. Is partnerships. Really form strong partnerships for what you're doing. Help yourself. Get help from others. Be actors of the change in your area. And I feel there's so much in there. And I'm really impressed, and I so want to actually maybe use this now to go into this group of guerrilla plastic movement, or the other one you talked about, Pipip, because this is something that we see which covers everything. If you're in a really good partnership, if you form close networks, that's going to help you all. And this is like the fifth kind of goal we have in this sustainable declaration, which we also have as a fundament for your work, and we feel very strongly about it. Yeah.
Can I ask you, Vilde, Andrea, in your region in Eastern Norway, are there some sort of these sort of collaborations, regional collaborations between artists when it comes to sustainability and thinking green? To put on mute.
Yes. Just to present myself, I'm a manager at an art center in the region called Innlandet. And it's very interesting I was here to listen, actually, to hear what people are saying. But we can see a lot of this interest and this very, very big engagement in climate change and in ecology in all the applications we get to the art center. I think the Norwegian art scene is very much into in a various of practices, which also some were presented here, into these questions. And in Innlandet, it's several many examples as well, both on this, what you talked about, that you work in groups, and the idea of sharing is in itself sustainable in a way. It could be, at least. And we have several deep ecological projects, people that move out of the cities and often establish themselves in farms. So I think in Innlandet we maybe have 10 different art farms where people are making art, but also make their own living. And it's a wholeness, between life and art in really, very interesting and different ways. So, for example, it was this big project, Drømmedalen with Tina Buddeberg. She's not longer living, but with horses and with, she had art making and food making and where you really looked into yourself and your personal life in a bigger context. It's too much to explain, but we have several of those artists that really where the limit between life and art is very short, but they are still, exhibiting at big exhibitions, both in Norway and outside, and like you mentioned, being inspiring examples of how you can change your lifestyle, both personally and politically, maybe also. So I think this is a topic that is everywhere, and that sometimes also make it challenging to that's why me myself attended this meeting, to get these hands-on experiences and all the individual thoughts around it and practices, because it talked about everywhere, and but what can we really do? What can we really, as both as individuals, but also as how do you say, an art scene together? How can we actually, be part of a bigger change? Both, and I think it's in action, but also in thinking, of course. How can we think differently? And I think as an institution, it's important to give room for different kinds of discussion, artists that have practices that give this bigger thoughts a form. For example, next exhibition with Anna Brotas and David Brucki, they will have a fermenting workshop where they talk about food sustainability and how what actually we eat is very important and part of the bigger the bigger picture. I could talk forever, but we are very much into it in Innlandet, and
I actually have a question. Does any organization in Norway kind of bundle all this kind of information and people who are interested in the topic to know like where you can actually talk to, or is this kind of like a hub, right?
Not really. I mean, one thing that we are currently doing, we're collaborating with a Bergen-based organization called Shift It, which is for the whole culture scene, and it's about recycling, reusing produce and product from art productions, from theater productions, from all these sort of stuff that we build and then we chuck it away. And they want to create this sort of a physical place where you can go and borrow these products over and over. And we're also doing we've had an open call, and we're going to have one or two artists that's Siri. No, go away, Siri. Sorry. But we have open call, and there's two artists will be invited to make artworks out of recycled textiles that are gathered from institutions. But overall, well, there's a lot of online material from the government, but I don't know what you think, Vilda. There are any places you would go within the arts to?
No, I think you are right that there is, I don't know about one organization, but it's maybe more loose networks, which are, I think there is a lot of sharing and communication within the art scene. The artists run part of the art scene, and also between the artist and the institutional landscape. It's a lot of how do you say, contact and sharing, but I don't know about a specific organization I know the Norwegian Arts Council, they make this kind of, what did they call it? The kind of a green guide for the cultural, for arts and culture in Norway, but it's not really. I know, for example, some colleagues just across the street they are part of a filmmaking organization. They are working very kind of how do you say, systematic with the
See, yeah.
how they can contribute to climate change.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
the film industry was actually one of the first to really push the topic quite well. Green filming, green production, using different kind of material sets, energy, mobility, things like that. So they really were kind of the forward thinkers of the whole cultural sector, which came quite late onto the kind of sustainability topic. Therefore, also in the UK, very much pushing things from the BBC and the BAFTA, so the British Academy of Film, TV and Arts side, way back before 2009 already. So we're talking about at least 15 years of that. Yeah, I just asked because I thought like maybe like because you're already doing this kind of like webinar thing, getting more a presentation, maybe this could be someone who's holding information locally and bringing things together already. Job as in the artist's world, something that could be probably useful, because I feel that especially when things are very loosely organized in things, that people are doing sometimes guidelines double or 3 or 4 times, and it's always the same. Therefore, I'm really happy to share what's already out there in that terms by Reinhard. In terms of what's already on the market, but probably maybe things have to be adapted to the Norwegian things and of working, and also very much yeah, your regions are very much spread out over Norway, and there's massive land between you. So yeah, that could be something maybe to talk about with WISP in the future, and would be happy to, yeah, obviously from the 2N2K network also look into it, because obviously with Culture4Climate in Germany, we kind of give, so the sustainability declaration was it's mostly part of my talk. But what we also offer is we have hands-on training for cultural sector. We do have a thing called Global Goals Lab, where we bring together a certain aspect or a certain sector of the cultural sector. For instance, like we would bring together artists. Then we work in 2 days on where is this sector going and where should they be going. So we do this Global Goals Lab for 2 days and bring together different various single artists, gallery users, museums, things like that together, group of 15 people trying to think how this sector can be forward thinking for Germany and where this can go. We had already five global goals, and one of them was with artists in Düsseldorf. And we brought together many artists and museums and people who are doing the funding together in one room for these 2 days, and trying to work on where things are going. And there's an organization now there who is taking over this kind of project we developed there, and they are called the Art Venture Club. And they are kind of working on this topic further on now, which is really cool to see. But we also did it with other regions and other topics, and always kind of assign a person who has been organizing with us this kind of Global Goals Lab to think things further, get funding to organize their work. So that's something, yeah, maybe we can think about also to do in Bergen one day, and get also funding for working on this sustainable arts practice together. Just one other thing, what we are doing is also, obviously, we have our website, which is at the moment in German, I must say, but our plan is to at least in late autumn to translate it also into English or to have the international version of it. Obviously, you can send out the sustainability declaration in the English version out to everyone after this seminar. And we have a conference coming up in 3 weeks' time. That's really interesting. It's going to be in Hamburg in the museum for, it's called MKG. It's a museum for Kunst und Gewerbe. So it's directly at the Hamburg Hauptbahnhof. And we talk about all these problems we're facing, but also challenging narratives and trying to see where we invited everyone in Germany because we are funded by the federal ministry. This is kind of a really massive conference on this topic and trying to get everyone together and thinking forward for German kind of also strategy in that times of since for culture for climate and where things are going in that direction. Yeah.
Will it be in English or just German?
We have just one session, which is in English with the Goethe Institute together, but it will mainly be in German. And we already also booked out, which, but I am happy to report afterwards to you when we have our next chat or so, our update.
No, it's a very good, I will look into if there's a way of collecting advice and guides for the regional. And that's something I've been thinking about, when what Ingeborg said about traveling, but in the art scene is always international wherever you are. It's borderless, so people travel everywhere. So it's hard to be too harsh on that part, basically.
Yeah.
I remember seeing this meme the other day, which really made me laugh out loud because it's funny, but it's also quite sad. And it's about Kim Kardashian flying from LA to Paris because there's a cheesecake she likes.
Yeah.
And then the rest of us has to have paper straws in our drink.
Yeah. That's kind of the divide we are living at the moment. So also like probably 10%, I don't know what the recent kind of data is, but 10% of the people mainly kind of are producing more carbon dioxide or THG emissions than the rest of the world. Yeah, so it's a bit frightening. And to be fair,
It's in the chat, Oslo Fjord Triennale. It's an interesting project in Norway.
I've written it down. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, I'm looking into it myself.
Yeah. We're already at 2:00. The hour really went by quickly. I thank everyone who put their input into the session. Really loved connecting. I will share also my contact information with Aslak when he sends out the email and obviously the links I said. Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me also, Aslak. Yeah.
It's great having you. Is there anyone who would like to say something either through chats or with their
I have a small comment. You said initially that the culture sector didn't that we weren't the biggest polluters, which is probably right. But Julius Bicycle has an estimate for a global carbon print at 70 million tons CO2 per year. I don't know how much that is in percent of what everybody else has, but 70 million tons is quite a bit. So I guess there are things we can do. We have definitely things we can reduce.
Yeah, that's definitely not what I wanted to say, send out as a message, but not that you as a cultural or artist, as someone, are the main reason for and things like that. And the research which Julie's Bicycle mainly did, I don't know if they did a global one, but that's something new information to me. But for the UK, they did quite a bit. And when you take out a lot of the things like mobility of the users in terms of people visiting theaters or opera houses or so on, then you come to a promille kind of percentage. We looked into it, and we also used the graphics and everything in our statistical kind of presentations when we go into the THG emissions. But it's very kind of, I think the whole cultural sector worldwide, I don't want to like, I don't know at the moment, but we're looking at under 1% for the whole cultural sector in terms of global emissions. Yeah.
We need the culture, but
Yeah,
there
we need culture,
definitely.
definitely.
And also another thing, when we finally get our guide done, whenever that is,
Yeah.
we will be happy to share it with whoever needs it, and probably we can also send it to Visp and also to NBK, and hope that
Cool.
most people will use it.
You can share it, yeah.
And
Perfect.
if and we'll make a digital version and a printed version, and the digital version will definitely be updated every time someone has something more knowledge or new products or new ideas that can help. So that will be sometime later this year.
Cool. I just saw that sadly the Oslofjord Triennale was this last weekend, but I will keep it for 3 years in my mind next time. But of course, I will look into the program as well.
It was very successful.
Very cool. Thank you so much. I will look into it as well. Very interested in what Norway is doing.
Okay, I just think, Aaron, we're going to say big thanks to Selina, and keep working green, keep thinking green, and we'll see if there's collaborations this can do further when it comes to this. And final words from you, Selina, from Berlin.
I can't speak any Norwegian, but what do you say to say goodbye and thank you?
Harder.
Harder?
Talk for my.
Takk for meg.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye. Take care. Bye.
Bye.